Hello everybody, I think it's time for another video. This one here is going to be about officer safety. And so I get these questions about how dangerous the job is. And in the class I'm always mentioning about how construction workers have more incidents of injuries than police officers do. But there's a certain amount of danger obviously that is involved in law enforcement. But please pay attention to the next few minutes, as hopefully some of this advice might save your life, right? A lot of you have been through the police academy, if I'm talking to you as a full-time officer, or you're contemplating on going through the academy. And in the police academy, they teach you all types of officer safety. You know, watch people's hands, they tell you. Watch the suspect's hands. Watch everything that's happening. Like, watch their hands. Like, don't take your eyes off their hands. And also know where they are and what they're doing, right? So that you know when to escalate and de-escalate. And I have to apologize for this phone, this sun, but I'm driving a different direction this morning, and so you got sun on my eyes. Anyway, on my face. Anyway, let's keep talking about this. So you go through your training program, and they teach you how to respond to pretty much every call there is in police work. Domestic violence obviously ranks among the top most dangerous calls for service, and you know, probably the reason why I'm making this video is a recent domestic violence incident that was brought to my attention, and it was a domestic violence call, and the two officers were dispatched to the call. Now, mind you, in the academy, you're taught how to respond to these calls, how to have the stealth approach. You know, black out your lights, you know, don't slam car doors, make sure that you don't have rattling keys when you walk up to the residence, because you don't want the suspect to know your exact location, right? And so on the recent incident that was brought up to my attention, these two officers were dispatched to a call for service. It was a domestic violence call, and you know, they had handled these type of calls before. I mean, these are not brand new officers. One officer had been there over 6 years. The other officer had been there, I don't know, 5 years. But when they got to the call, they decided to have one of the officers wait in the patrol car to finish up a few forms or report forms or whatever. And then the second officer, the contact officer, went up and to contact the suspect on this domestic violence, incident, right? A family dispute. Again, these are the most dangerous calls for service, yet that officer walked up to the house by himself without backup. And a shooting occurred, and unfortunately the suspect got the drop on him and the officer died. So this is why I make these videos when I talk about officer safety. We talk about dissecting what happened to these officers, not to dishonor them or to disrespect them, but to learn from some of the possible mistakes that were made in that call. And so you learn in the academy about contact and cover. You learn about the difference between cover and concealment, right? Concealment, you can just hide behind a bed sheet that's hanging over a clothesline, but it doesn't give you cover. You need to have cover. So behind a brick wall gives you both cover and concealment. Anyway, these calls for service, these officers that respond, and sometimes for whatever reason they decide to ignore their officer safety, this is what increases the amount of danger in the profession. So it's not that I'm not saying, for example, had they done everything right, this wouldn't have happened. I'm saying that it would have minimized the chances of them getting injured. So if you're contemplating on getting into law enforcement, don't get complacent. Don't allow things to become routine. Don't skip officer safety protocol. So if the domestic violence call calls for 2 officers and your backup officer is still tied up, just wait for your backup officer to free himself or herself away from that call, so that you have 2 officers, you know, you and a backup, responding to that call. Don't take the risk of doing this. Years ago in Flagstaff, Arizona, there's a video online of this officer. He hears a call for service. It was a domestic violence call, and he takes the call, and because it's not even his call, right? He's not even the one dispatched to it. He volunteers for the call, And then when he gets there, he doesn't wait for the backup officer. He decides to go up there on his own to contact the individual. Now, Flagstaff, Arizona, it's winter time apparently, so it's cold. He goes inside the residence and he lets the suspect go into the bedroom to get a jacket or whatever, which is something that we don't do ever, at least not in California, at least not officers that follow officer safety protocol. So anyway, he lets this guy go, and then when he comes out, the suspect has his hand in his pocket, and the entire time, unbeknownst to the officer, he's holding a weapon. And so during the conversation, the officer finally realizes, uh-oh, I better pat this guy down. He goes to pat him down. The suspect pulls out the weapon, shoots the officer, and then, eventually takes his own life. And that's how that call ended. Again, I share these stories with you because it's a moment of lack of officer safety that could cost you your life. And so that extra preparation of making sure that you have a backup officer, making sure that you're focused, that you're not standing in the doorway when you walk up to a house, making sure that you pause and listen and explore the area before you walk up and contact someone. Remember, there's nothing that says that you have to get out of your car and hurry up and get up there. Yeah, you have to get up there as soon as possible whenever it's safety to do so. Not, you're gonna run up there and all of a sudden the guy's waiting for you to ambush you and you get shot, and that's the end of that story. So I hope that what you got out of this video is that the significance, the importance, the vital importance of this advice, that if you get into law enforcement, when you get into law enforcement, if you're already in law enforcement, you cannot get complacent. You can't ignore officer safety, and use every video that you can on YouTube to learn what not to do, right? When you're out there on patrol, how not to approach a suspect, how not to ignore officer safety, and so forth. Thank you for listening. I hope you got a lot out of this. It's just maybe for some of you, it's a fresh reminder of the dangers that exist out there and the importance of you following officer safety. Take care of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Share this video and do like it so we can help the algorithm and keep the message going. Be safe out there.